In 2014, there was a poll, and the Japanese voted this above Godzilla 1954 as being their most favorite Godzilla movie ever. The best of the best.
All time.
All time.
Including the Showa era.
Including the Showa era, including all the Millennium movies, including everything.
Including 98. Roses are red, spies attack, plot lines aplenty, and Godzilla's back.
Yes, he is in number 2 of the Heisei era, in a movie that has often been called by fans, and even in a recent poll, as being one of the best, if not the best, Godzilla movie of all time. And of course, just like every other freaking time we do this, I've sat on this couch, I'm going to ask you the cliche, Brian, was that true?
No!
Did you hate it?
Yes! No, I didn't hate it. Yeah, no, it was pretty good. I think we both enjoyed it. Would you rank it as number 1?
I can't rank it as number 1. It's up there.
Yeah.
It is so totally up there because of all the different things that it does. I feel like this is the evolution of the genre. Like, this movie is something incredibly special.
Yeah.
But upon rewatching it, because I grew up watching this,
yeah.
I started noticing much more problems with it, and that kind of brought me down a peg.
So, Godzilla versus a giant plant. Obviously, there's got to be a story behind this.
So this story was the winner of a contest where over 5,000 submissions were given to Toho, basically for a new Godzilla story. They chose 5 story ideas from this. But the guy that they submitted these ideas to was what would become the director of Biollante, and that was Kazuki Amori. Yeah, and he's the one that picked Biollante to do. About Biollante, he said that he actually wanted to make a true great entertainment film. And my question to you is, did he succeed?
Obviously, if people ranked it as number 1, but for us anyway, because that's the opinions that matter.
Oh, dude. They're gonna hate us. They're gonna hate us.
No, they hate us anyway. Yeah, I think he did succeed. I found it incredibly entertaining. It was a different type of movie than the typical Godzilla trope that we're used to.
One of my biggest complaints about the Showa era, even though it might have not made any of the reviews, is that the monsters never really changed the world that they lived in, and they never really affected the world.
Yeah.
But like we said in our G84 review, Godzilla is literally affecting the world stage, politically speaking, and now they're fighting over his cells. It's biotechnology.
Which I find extremely interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally how the movie starts, is a whole espionage heist sequence involving Godzilla's cells.
Once again, proving that spies and Godzilla can, in fact, be good together, unlike Ghidorah.
Yeah, but this one works.
It does.
We were actually invested in the whole spy plot line, and it fed directly into the plot of the movie itself, instead of having it be a complete subplot that had nothing to do with the monsters.
There are so many plot threads, and one of the biggest complaints is the fact that there are too many. I think this movie's biggest problem is the fact that I just don't give a shit about any of the characters, and it lacks intensity.
Yeah.
I feel like on paper, like, it read beautifully,
yeah.
But in execution, it's not there.
I think you're exactly right, because describing it sounds so exciting, you know?
Yeah. I still really like this movie, but again, as far as Godzilla movies go, it's great. But as far as comparing to other stuff, it has a lot of work to do.
Yeah, it's got some holes.
Well, you know, if you don't watch Godzilla for the story, you watch it for the special effects.
Yep, which were awesome, by the way.
I want to just bring up this new guy, this new gentleman, if it were.
A gentleman?
A gentleman by the name of Koichi Kawakita. I probably completely butchered that name, but hey, you know what? I'm a weeaboo, so it doesn't really matter now, does it, folks? Mr. Kawakita was the head special effects guy from this movie onwards all the way to Destoroyah. This movie sets up a trope that is in every single one of these movies. I prefer to have monsters transform. It provides more entertainment for the members of the audience, and it serves as an identifying characteristic of the current Godzilla films.
That actually makes sense. We both liked the 2 forms of Biollante.
Yeah.
I like it, though. It keeps it fresh, you know? But when you finally do see the monster, it was great. It's kind of a creepy feel to it, too. You just see it with the lighting and everything, and, like, there's, like, fog going on.
And again, like, that idea that it's a giant flower, folks.
But it looks awesome.
But that's my point. Though,
yeah,
is the fact that you look at this and you're not laughing. You're like, okay, should I be creeped out or should I find this oddly beautiful? So, Big G, new design.
I liked it a lot. I feel like it's a good like segue between the '84 version and what would be the rest of the Heisei suit.
Yeah, this is basically the rest of the Heisei era. Yeah. Most people agree that that suit is one of the best designs out there. This is Godzilla, and I feel like no matter where you look, whatever ad you see, if it's Godzilla and a picture of Godzilla, it's going to be this design or one of the variations thereof.
This is the most menacing that he's looked ever so far.
How about that first battle with Godzilla? Because again, I'm just going to put him on the spot here. He wasn't very impressed with these fights. He's like, He was so amped up to see this fucking movie, and then when the battles came, he was like,
It kind of reminded me of the Mothra fight from the Showa era.
Okay.
Pretty good fight, but it was one blast from Godzilla's breath, and it's done.
What I was going to say about the battles, they're brutal, they're bloody. I don't think we've seen that much blood since, like, Gigan.
Yeah, that's true. Both monsters bleed.
And as short as they are, I mean, they're memorable. Let's just really quickly talk about the military fights, because I feel like, again, when we talked about the monster fights, it looks so good. They also introduced the Super X too, and I feel like in this movie, there's actually a purpose, as opposed to the last movie where it's just like, hey, we got this floating fortress, and here it is. This feels like the very first true piece of anti-monster technology.
Right, they got that, what do they call it?
The fire mirror?
Fire mirror, yeah, it reflects Godzilla's heat breath.
That's brilliant.
Awesome.
That's brilliant. And it's a drone too, and I know a lot of people like complain about it. They're like, yeah, there should be people inside of it because it would be more dramatic. But doesn't it make sense? It just like in Destroy All Monsters,
absolutely,
you had the RC tanks to fight these things. Why would you send people?
No, it's so dangerous. We've seen before that he can crash this thing easily.
Yeah.
And P.S. he does again in this one, so good thing we didn't spare any lives.
Yeah, for real. Going back to Biollante just real fast. That second form?
Yes.
32 technicians to make that thing work.
That's impressive.
Is a special effect.
Yes. And I love that suit. That's one of my favorite looking ones.
Apparently it was a bitch to rig. It took like hours to do it, but then you can see why. You know what I mean? It does not look bad. And I think even by Hollywood standards, that particular creation is something worth being like, hey, that is awesome.
That's worth it. I wish we would have seen more of the second form, to be honest.
Now, I've seen this movie a dozen times in my life, and I've never had a problem. In fact, we watched it twice already. It was only on the second time that I kind of noticed this. This movie has no ending. Nothing matters by the end of the movie. Like all the action that happened, all the people that died, all the monster fights, and everything else. Nothing
right out the window
mattered.
So Biollante's dead. Godzilla's still alive after he gets infected by the bacteria, which apparently doesn't work. He retreats into the sea for some reason and doesn't decide to destroy the rest of the city or the military, which is laying right at his feet. And the movie ends.
The entire plot is about trying to stop Godzilla, and they don't. Now, granted, the comeback to that is that in the next movie, he is immobile at the bottom of the sea, and they think it's because of the anti-nuclear bacteria. But it's not. We don't know that. Yeah, no, we don't. That is not established in this movie.
For as much as I may complain about certain parts of this movie, I definitely was not bored ever.
Oh yeah.
Even with all the human stuff going on.
Exactly.
I was invested 100% in this movie.
And it bombed at the box office.
Wow.
At that point, it was the most expensive movie ever made, Godzilla-wise. This movie caused Toho to be like, nope, okay, we're going to go to a very formulaic thing. Old monsters being brought back. We're going to target certain demographics.
I'm wondering if it bombed because people wanted to see Ghidorah, people wanted to see Mothra, and when they saw that it was a flower. I mean, if I were just to tell you, without you having seen this movie, hey, I got this movie, Godzilla fights a flower in it.
Yeah.
I mean, would that be exciting to you? Probably not.
I feel like this movie was way ahead of its time. So this thing was hitting, subjects that weren't really making the headlines until much later than that. It might have been, concepts and things. But it wasn't, truly relevant to, mass pop culture, But nowadays, I think it's still relevant.
Yeah, which is probably why people are finally starting to realize how great of a movie this is.
Yeah, it's one of the best Godzilla movies out there. We have our problems with it, but for me, I stick by definitely one of the best. So we go from, realistic and somewhat somber and a little bit grim to kind of ridiculous and weird, and a lot of people think that the plot just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And that movie would be Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah from 1991. And with that, I'm going to hand off the reins to Brian. Brian, close us out!
So guys, for Godzilla's sake, please keep watching Tokusatsu for the good of mankind and yourselves. And please, oh please,
I'm Brian.
collect responsibly. We'll see you later, guys.